thanks very much for joining me today. I like to think we've blossomed, I guess, in parallel within this industry, even if your star shines a little brighter than mine these days. But I know that you're always good for some sage words of advice, so thanks for joining us. Obviously, because you're involved in the sales process, I'd like to sort of kick off with the run-on activity that we've seen over the last 12 months. The industry's getting pretty excited about it. We're all talking about record numbers. Do you think this is a sustained period of market growth, or are we looking at another sort of boom and bust cycle?
One introduction, eh? That.
You're most welcome.
So, to answer your question directly, Will, I think we're coming to the end of one phase.
Yeah.
We've been through a few phases in the last probably 12 to 18 months with COVID. We've gone from buyer's market through to seller's market, and I think we're approaching back on buyer's market now.
Okay.
So, the beginning of the period, people that wanted to sell needed to sell rather than wanted, let's say. People that wanted to buy, they knew they were going to get a deal. So there was fire sales right at the beginning, there was panic, hysteria. That quickly went, I'd say, after about 3-4 months, probably around about July time last year. That's when borders started to open, the charter market just picked up from scratch. It went through the roof from last summer. And it's been the strange period ever since, in the last 12 months, where there hasn't been enough stock, quality stock, to sell, but there's been more buyers than ever.
Yeah.
New buyers into the industry, old buyers, whatever. There's been so many buyers that they've had the choice and the power, historically, which then switched on the head because the sellers suddenly, there's not that many boats now. So you on our boat, you're going to have to pay a premium. And that probably hasn't been around since the early 2000s, or 2008 certainly, when the big crash was. New builds has had a knock-on effect as well, because there wasn't good stock to buy now, so people have ordered, and now all the order books are saturated. And we're now, I think, reaching the sort of the top of that curve. So we're probably going to start seeing that the sellers are losing a bit of the power, and it's coming back to the buyers a little bit, because the original boats that were sold, we're starting to see come back on the market. People have flipped. Ownership costs, people didn't quite realise. That's probably more on the smaller scale of the market, up to the 35-40 metres. But we've been on all different sectors have been affected differently, and I think that's probably, we can't really talk about a trend about yachting as a whole, because each sector, depending on the wealth of the owner in that sector, has been hit very differently.
So essentially what you're saying is we on the cusp of a sort of welcome market adjustment, where we'll actually get to a more sort of stable market dynamic.
I think we're coming into a very strange period where you won't be able to order a new boat because they're all fully booked. The order books for all the shipyards that we've been speaking to are full, and that's obviously great news for the industry, apart from it puts off buyers ordering new boats because they've got to wait so long. So then, if they want a yacht, they have to return to the brokerage market, which, as we know, has been super active. So there's not that many yachts available. There's a key sign here at the boat show that in the last 30 days there's been loads of bookings. I mean, this boat we're on and the yachts we've got in, they've been booked in the last 30 days. So there have been sort of last minute entries with owners wanting to sell, owners looking to sort of jump on that bandwagon of there's not enough stock, people are paying premium prices, so let's put our boat on the market and make it available. And if they can sell for a good price, they will do. So we're just in this strange bubble that has to stop. I mean, it's not sustainable. Nothing ever is. But our industry goes in waves, and I think we're coming to the top of it. And it doesn't mean there's going to be a sudden crash. There has to be a readjustment. That for the brokers, for the client managers dealing with customers in the shipyards, we can't offer them something now. It's not. We can't stand here and go, you want this for next summer? Sign now, because that's just not possible. The shipyards are too full. So there's different ways now to appease the clients, whether we try and push them towards chartering while something else is being built, whether they consider buying something else, a smaller boat or a different boat to run whilst something is being built. We just have to think differently to what we have done in the last year of, you're hot, you want to buy a boat, here's what's available, let's go. Because if they were looking for, let's say, a 50 to 60 metre yacht a year ago, we had a huge selection to show them. Now, very limited. On one hand, they'll have a number of yachts. So the choice has gone away from the buyer more to the seller who's got it, knowing that if they want a boat in that size, they're going to have to come to us as one of the few boats available. Therefore, we keep the price high. but that should hopefully start to change and make things a bit more accessible.
This is exactly the sort of honesty and pragmatism I expect when I come to you, Jeff. So
might all be lies, but we'll have to see what's around the corner.
All right, so here's another, not necessarily difficult question, but I'm very interested to know, someone who's embedded in the sales process. We're back here, it's been a long time, we're back at the Monaco Yacht Show. Just wondering, how important is the return of boat shows, but the boat show model in today's modern sales process?
Massive, and I don't think we'll ever go away. Obviously, we're all now far more used. If you asked us that question in 2019, I think everyone would have said it's super important. And then obviously with COVID, we've all switched online. But it almost went on that long, people were desperate to get back out again. Now, what we're buying, or what the customers are buying, it's not a normal standard production product.
Yeah.
So whilst we've all bought on Amazon extensively in the last 18 months, we've all also made mistakes buying on Amazon and buying online. Something's arrived wrong colour, wrong size, completely different. You thought you were buying a big thing and it turned out to be a model of the thing. We all know the stories.
Absolutely.
So buying online has its pitfalls and its advantages. We've still got lots of clients over in Australia and New Zealand who are locked down, who are still basically buying from Zoom calls and doing walkthroughs, but nothing replaces when you're spending this level of wealth, physically coming to touch it, hear it, feel it. And that's one of the things we've picked up with customers coming to see the yachts we're selling here, is that it's the feeling, it's the texture, it's the sound. They go from one yacht to another, it's completely different sound dynamics. When you're spending this level of wealth, you don't want to risk it otherwise. There's very few people that I think now would worry about buying a car without test driving it, because they know, we drive cars a lot. If you're upgrading, if you're buying a different car, you may struggle with the feeling of some plastics that you would like, I wish if I'd sat in it, I would have felt. But a yacht, people especially that are educated in yachts, so they are yacht owners or they're yacht charterers, they are so different when you come on board it. The deckhead height, the beam, things that are just words in a spec or numbers in a spec mean nothing until you're there and you're feeling it. What does it feel like? And this is not a purchase that if you made the wrong purchase, you can sell quickly and cheaply. You're losing money through brokerage fees and various other things straight away. So it's not like buying a car, getting it, hating it, and building another one. It is quite different, and until you come to a show and you're able to go from yacht to yacht to yacht, designer by designer, build by build, volume by volume, that you can really compare. Because what we are all seeing, the industry's probably changed from length orientated to gross tonnage orientated, where now people are comparing price per GT rather than price per metre. You can have what's the new, it's 50 yard plus metres, but the biggest 499 gross ton yacht, just to leave it up in Holland, I can't remember its name.
Fee. House
so
thing,
hugely long, but 499 GT, and you can get that in a 40 metre in the same volume. So you can't just compare on length anymore, it's got to be volume. And that's not what you can sell digitally. You can't sell that feeling.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think personally, I've got quite strong views on this. Personally, I think the trend for virtual yacht shows was a necessary evil. Fair enough, like people made the effort to innovate in order to keep the market moving, and credit to them for that. But it just doesn't compare, as you say. It's this sort of investment. You learn as you go as a client. You learn as you see and you interact, what you like, what you don't like, where things are positioned. It's so important to just absorb the boat, isn't it?
I'd say those shows, they serve the purpose and are probably the forerunner to all the boat shows that are now full of clients. Because people were engaged, they were interactive, they were building their Sunseekers spec online through the websites, and those spec boats, the Princesses and San Lorenzo's and things, you can design them online. Doesn't mean they order them online. So they're coming then into the shows, into Cannes, into Genoa, into Southampton, into Monaco, with an educated view of, these are the boats I want to look at, and this is why, because they've done a lot of research into it. Now, the virtual boat shows I don't think will go away, the 3D viewings won't go away. They're all great selling tools, but they're not closing tools. They're great marketing, so that the clients walk into the show knowing what they want. And that's just for probably up to maybe 50, 60 metres. Beyond that, when you're fully custom, it's really irrelevant, because you need to go on board and you need to see and feel it. But for the mass market, it certainly helped. As there's lots of other things on TV and digital and YouTube videos and everything else, that's helped educate buyers and potential buyers to what it is they're looking for, but nothing will, in my opinion, replace going on board and seeing and feeling. And going from, say, a Benetti to a San Lorenzo to a Heeson to an Amels, all the same size, all 55 metres, all the same tonnage, but going and seeing the quality, feeling the design, and then going on a sister yacht, which the layout's the same, but the design's different, and how different it feels. Nothing will replace that.
Yeah.
So whether people were looking to just get design ideas ready to order a new boat, or they're looking to buy a second-hand brokerage boat, nothing will ever replace, I think, coming and standing, feeling. It's not about the drinks, it's not about the champagne. We haven't served a single glass of champagne in the last 2 days with loads of clients. It's all just been focused, serious questions, serious answers. They want to know the things. I mean, there's smiles and they're enjoying it, but you know, they're here educated. They're not just here looking around, kicking the tyres, going, oh, what's this then? You know, they know what they're coming to see.
Yeah. Absolutely. I suppose just to conclude, and it's awful to think because by 2030 both you and I will be middle-aged men, but
you may be.
but however, the theme of our live tour this year is Super Yacht 2030, and sort of broadly speaking, we're looking at what the industry needs to do to change, not necessarily to change its ways, but opportunities for improvement to bolster our sort of collective prosperity between now and the end of the decade. How do you foresee our industry taking shape over the next sort of 7-8 years?
I'm actually really glad of the situation we're in at the moment. I think as an industry, we've done what we should have done, and we're doing what we should be doing. So by that I mean, everyone's talking about sustainability, everyone's talking about environmental friendliness, and we're not just talking about it like we have been. We're in a boat show with diesel electric hybrid yachts. It's not a design, they're here. So they've been designed for the last 3-4 years, they've been built and they're for sale. So the progress is going there. The vast majority of the new builds are diesel electric hybrid, so there's benefits environmentally and there's benefits for space inside, so the owners benefit more than just running costs. Unfortunately, during COVID this year, we've been told we have to give plastic bottles to customers because everyone's got to have their own individually sealed bottles. But if we go back to 2019, that was severely changing. You know, your super yacht forums, things like that. It's bringing your own water bottle, filling it up. Vast majority of the yachts now are being installed with proper water softeners and for basically still and chilled sparkling water in the pantries, so the guests can just fill up their own bottles, fill their own glasses. We're going away from plastic. The whole industry is pushing into these sectors anyway. And I'm going to mention the dreaded term we mentioned just before the interview of below deck, the below deck thing. Now the reason I want to mention that, the whole Marmite love it, hate it thing, but it has made yachting accessible. And what I do to people, I liken it to how Drive to Survive, the Netflix series about Formula 1, has made Formula 1 accessible. It puts characters behind what actually happens. Rather than your 2 hours on the Sunday watching millionaires racing an elite car around Monaco, you actually see all the characters that make it work. Our industry is like a pyramid, or let's say a better one would be the iceberg. You see the pyramid on top of the water, and there's everything behind that no one has a clue about. That some of us who have done it know what happens, other people just know it happens, but they don't know what it is. Below Deck has put that out in the foray, and whilst a lot of people in the industry don't like it, I know clients that like it, crew that like it, captains that like it. Also, they all hate it, some of them, but it's a part of our industry that has put it out into the mainstream, and for the mainstream has made it accessible, because they suddenly know what a super yacht is. They know what goes behind the scenes. Yes, it's entertaining, and yes, it's extreme, but so is everything on TV. People aren't stupid enough to not know that in the reality TV world. It's like watching the Kardashians, but watching their staff at the same time as watching them, seeing two sides of the table. I've got yacht owners who watch it and tell me, is this what it's really like, or should I look after my crew more? I've got charterers going, I want to buy, so I'm watching Below Deck to get ownership ideas. Whilst it's very easy for us as industry experts to go, what a load of rubbish, it portrays us in a bad way, it still portrays us to millions and millions and millions of people. The marine industry is huge, it's vast, but we don't want to liken ourselves to tankers, to cruise ships, to anything else. We are the elite, like Formula 1 is the elite in the automobile industry. And that one series, Drive to Survive, has put that on the map to millions more fans. The stadiums are full. merchandise is going up. People are engaged with the drivers because they now know what it's all about. And I think, personally, it's the same with the super yachting sector, that it's made us accessible. You know, this yacht we're on now, this is selling, well, for sale for nearly 19 million, and the people coming on board to board it just look like, you know, your mum and dad.
Yeah.
They look like normal, successful business people. They're not all oligarchs.
Yeah.
They're not all, you know, sheikhs, and that's the perception, the Daily Mail perception, you know, of what they read about, which makes our industry, from the outside, look really elitist. And just a small thing like a TV program, or the let's say the influencers online are having this following, and the truth is getting out there that you don't have to be, you know, either a third earl or a lord or a lady, or have, you know, an oil reserve in your back garden to afford a super yacht. And that, along with the way we're changing for sustainability, the way we're advocates of, you know, of sustainability, of change, of battery technology, when you've got yacht owners and yacht crew like Gene Machine, I'll use that as an example because it's so public in what they're doing, and so many of the yachts have got that social media presence that, you know, if they see a sea turtle struggling, they're pulling it out, they're helping it out, they're picking up the waste, they're doing a lot to clean up. That's a good public image. Rather than pretending, rather than have, let's say, the illusion of grandeur that we're better than everyone else, and, you know, you don't know about us because you can't afford us. The industry as a whole is widening and opening, and that perception can only be good because it makes us accessible. So people, when they get lucky on the national lottery, or whether they're successful in business, they're coming in not afraid. You know, they don't walk around going, "Oh, I don't belong here." It's not a London nightclub, you know, elitist, and you have to, you know, have a spoon in your mouth, and you have to, you know, gone to a certain school like it was a long time ago. It's, if you're successful, you can come in. It costs a lot. We're not saying it doesn't cost a lot, but we're making it accessible. And I think that's the key thing for sustainability of the industry, is making it accessible. And as part of that, it's telling the truth. So that's why I argue with people about below deck, because I've been yacht crew on 50 odd metre boats.
We know,
you know, 4 or 5 day charters, and they're like that. You know? Crew sleep with each other. Crew argue with each other. That's what crew do. That's what happens. Let's not pretend it doesn't. It makes entertaining TV. And from a perspective of making it available, more crew hopefully are going to want to come in, because we know it's a huge problem in our sector. We've got so many yachts being built, and we've got a huge problem with finding quality crew. The last few years, that has been the biggest problem. Everyone said no mooring spaces and not enough quality crew, because the yachts are getting bigger and bigger, employing more and more crew, and there's not the influx of new people. The millennial generation who wants to do the 14 to 20 hours a day, month in, month out to do it. So, if anything, even if owners don't like it, at least hopefully a new generation of yacht crew may come from it. So, industry-wise, I'm happy with where we are. I think we're going in the right direction. We're going sustainable, we're going greener, and we're becoming more accessible to people, which can only be a good thing.
Brilliant. All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Cheers.
Welcome,
Good to see you as always.